So Angry Marks Podcast Network fans, just one question for you. Have you signed up for WrestleWork yet? WrestleWork is the social media destination where professional wrestling fans, promotions, and wrestlers can come together, interact, and share their passion for professional wrestling. You can sign up today for free at WrestleWork.com.
You're listening to the SmackDown RunDown on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the SmackDown Rundown here on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. Yes, it is I, the one and only Nikolai, and I am joined by two fine gentlemen this evening. One, let's start off with my co-host Jordan Garber.
How you guys doing tonight? How is AngryMarks.com doing tonight? It's great to be on again.
Awesome. And joining us as well, returning for another week, is Rob the Many.
Hi, people. It is the walking, talking, rant machine himself, Rob the Many.
So, this episode of SmackDown was basically, I don't want to say a throwaway show, but it was really placed there because most of the talent had already been on the flight to Europe because the WWE is doing their annual European tour 2 weeks after WrestleMania. So we're going to get Raw and SmackDown from London next week. But this week, not a lot of stars. It wasn't really a star-studded show like last week was. But in my opinion, I think it was still it was still a decent show that we really didn't get much, leading into Extreme Rules, but it was really to keep the stories going. Rob, did you get much of a chance about SmackDown? You have any opinion on it?
Oh yeah, I thought it was a little bit of a better show than Raw, in my opinion. I found this week's Raw to kind of be boring and monotonous and very formulaic, where I thought there was elements of tonight's SmackDown that kind of was samey feeling, but by and large, I kind of enjoyed myself watching SmackDown this week more than I did Raw.
Jordan, how do you feel? Do you think WWE is doing any job this week of leading to Extreme Rules?
I think they're doing okay. Nothing spectacular, but I think they're pretty much, just to make it short and simple, they're on their way. And probably within a few weeks they're going to be all good and set to go, but just for now they're on their way. It's just developing.
Right. Well, we started off this episode with the Intercontinental Champion Daniel Bryan, and he talked about how great it felt. It was one of the highlights of his career, winning the Intercontinental Championship for the first time. And it was at WrestleMania in front of 76,000 people. And he said a title only means as much as the actions of the man who holds it. And he wants to make the Intercontinental Championship mean more. And by that, he means defending it against anybody and everybody. And of course, who else would want that title back but the former Intercontinental Champion, Bad News Barrett, who happened to interrupt him. And apparently, on Monday Night Raw, during the commercial break or one of the app videos, he had invoked his rematch for the Intercontinental title at Extreme Rules. This is really the only new development we've gotten for the next pay-per-view. Barrett will try and win the title back from Bryan. But Barrett wasn't alone because Sheamus came out, said that he's tired of little munchkins, and they try to use their size against the smaller guys, and that just this whole segment broke down with Barrett and Sheamus wanting to kick Daniel Bryan's ass. Dolph Ziggler made his return after not showing up after being out since last week's Raw. Big Show wanted to join in, Roman Reigns joined in, and of course, all these guys, multi-man, sets up the 6-man tag team main event, the School of Teddy Long matchmaking main event.
Yeah, that's classic Teddy Long. He always gave you guys those tag team matches, and like Nick said, you got your 6-man tag team main event for SmackDown.
Yeah, the Daniel Bryan promo, the only thing I was disappointed about that is I felt it was almost verbatim John Cena's promo from Raw about the U.S. belt, except out of Daniel Bryan's mouth. That was the only thing that bugged me. Second thing that bugged me is they did a really crappy job of teasing that the heels were going to beat down Daniel Bryan before Dolph came down. I mean, it was really, really, really super obvious that Dolph was going to interfere and save him. And then when they introduced Big Show, I groaned. I audibly groaned because I knew that meant Roman Reigns was coming down next, and that this segment was going to go longer than it needed to be just to set up a 6-man tag. This was probably my least favorite part of the show, just because it was just there to set up a match, and they went through the motions. I felt during this is the weakest moment of SmackDown, but the rest of the show was really solid.
Well, I have to say, when it comes to Daniel Bryan and this promo sounding like John Cena, I have to and I know it bothered you, Rob, but I have to say I actually like it because we're actually getting the champions show that the championship means something. And when you have Daniel Bryan, who was undoubtedly the hottest guy at last year's WrestleMania, still one of the hottest guys this year, actually have a championship and say they want it to mean something. And even if it's just for promo purposes or storyline related, the fact that I love, that people are saying they want to make the championship mean something. And especially guys like John Cena, who has been at the top of the company for 12 years, and has been in the main event title picture, in the WWE Championship since 2005, has finally, has gone back to the United States Championship, a title that he first won at WrestleMania, just like Daniel Bryan won his first mid-card, the Intercontinental title for the first time at WrestleMania. You have these guys who are the main event, former heavyweight champions, are at the top and could be in the main event at any time, going back and winning these two titles and saying that they want them to mean something. I think that actually makes it even more interesting.
Oh, no. My point wasn't about the content. It was more about I like that they're showing that the IC belt means something. I just felt like it sounded a lot like Cena's promo. Basically, I'm here to defend it against all comers, blah, 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 blah. That's all. That it was just mostly the same promo.
Like a copy and paste.
Given from another wrestler. That was my only point. I get what they're trying to do, and I feel like they need to do it. I just felt like they could have maybe spiced it up a little bit and just made it slightly different.
Okay, I got you. Jordan, what did you think about Bryan and Cena winning the mid-card titles?
Well, like I said before, when you guys were explaining, I think it's great how the big stars are winning these mid-card titles, because now they're going to make these titles more important. They're going to bring back the roots of the history of these championships and how much these championships mean. I think this is a great thing for them and for the title. I think it's a great step in the right direction. It doesn't mean that they're egomaniacs. They don't always have to be in the main event. They can take a break from that, and they can have these little mid-card title runs. I think this is a great thing for the company.
I agree. And speaking of champions, I want to point out something that I didn't get to since I couldn't make the show last week. But Seth Rollins, the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, he was on SmackDown last week. He wasn't on it this week because, like I said, he was probably part of the Raw roster who were already on their way to Europe. But Seth Rollins, like I said, the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, was on SmackDown last week, and it makes you wonder, when was the last time that we saw the World Heavyweight Champion on SmackDown? And I'm thinking that was probably John Cena back in July.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen John Cena on SmackDown, now that I think about it.
Well, John Cena himself was on SmackDown last week talking about the U.S. title. But I'm talking about the championship itself, because you remember Brock Lesnar was the champion, and he was barely on Raw and never on SmackDown.
Yeah, we're never going to see Brock Lesnar on SmackDown, I know. Except for if it's like Raw replays or whatever, but we're actually not going to see Lesnar at the show actually on SmackDown. I don't think that's part of his contract.
And apparently Brock Lesnar still has his rematch clause for the title, even though he was suspended indefinitely last week. So
I actually heard rumors that he's going to return around July or August.
Well, of course he'll probably be back for SummerSlam.
Oh, yeah.
But getting back to this, we had, all the players for the main event set up, and this was supposed to be a standard tag team match. For the second week in a row on SmackDown, they had advertised Bryan and Ziggler versus Sheamus and Barrett, and for the second week in a row, that didn't happen. Last week it was a singles match, Sheamus versus Bryan. This week, you throw in Big Show and Roman Reigns, probably for more star power, probably for more excitement, who knows, but we'll get to that in a minute. Interesting enough, since we're talking about tag team matches, the first match on SmackDown was a tag team match, and it was Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, the tag team champions, versus the New Day, who, because of, I guess if you want to say because of WrestleMania, the crowd has been more vocal about booing the New Day, and we've seen their attitudes change, and they might be embracing it and switching to a heel. What do you think about this, Jordan?
Well, think about it. The New Day has their whole gimmick is based on a positive outlook. How are they going to become heels if their gimmick is based on a positive outlook? Heels aren't positive, they're negative, right? You know what I mean?
True. I mean, I guess the way you could look at it is, and Big E was given a promo before the match, and he said, we came here to spread positivity, and you're booing us, but you're supposed to love us. And I guess the way they might switch it up is that they're going to try and force it down our throats, and kind of like how Daniel Bryan was saying that he's vegan and everybody should be the same, or CM Punk is straight edge and everybody should be the same. So I guess that's how they could switch this up.
They could, but it just sounds stupid. It's like, be positive or I'll hurt you. It's like, come on. I don't know. I just don't see much happening with it. That's pretty much my take on it. I don't see much happening with that tag team. I don't see much happening at all. Like, they don't suck. They're all good as individual wrestlers, but as a group, they're terrible. It's horrible. That's the match where I go to, that's the team where I have to get up and go to the bathroom. That's my bathroom match is when the New Day competes. Like, if I saw Kofi Kingston versus Xavier Woods, I would love to watch that match, but we're not going to see that. We're just going to see the whole big New Day with their little sunshine singlets and their little, like, preaching music. It's like, I thought it was a cool gimmick at first, but now they're just, like, repetitive. And I'm tired of it. It's annoying. Especially when you had a miserable day, right? You don't want to watch that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the way they're going at it, it's just going to invoke more boos and the crowd chanting, "New Day sucks. New Day sucks."
Something needs to happen with it. And I know that WWE creative knows about what's going on with the New Day, and they're probably having their hand on their heads right now saying, what did we do? What did we create here? We created a monster.
Well, the crowd is the one that turned them into a monster, and they turned their backs on the New Day. Rob, what did you think of this match? This was non-title, by the way. Tyson Kidd Cesaro versus Big E and Kofi Kingston of the New Day.
The interesting takeaway from here is they teased New Day going heel on Raw this past week with Kofi doing a kick on the outside and having Xavier Woods kind of smile at him. Unfortunately for New Day, the commentators paid no attention to this heel tease and completely did not mention it. However, basically, WWE has decided that they are heels now because they I somewhat sweetened a heel reaction at the beginning when they first came out. And then the rest of the reaction seemed like it was legit, with the New Day sucks chant, etc. The match itself was really, really good. It was a really good tag match. I thought Kofi, the only thing that bothers me about Kofi being a heel, if that's the way they're going, which it seems pretty obvious, because I think they really went out of their way to kind of establish them as heels tonight, is that Kofi's offense has to change. He has to not do some of the babyface stuff that he does, because he did a couple high spots during this match, and the crowd kind of oohed and awed. And if you're a heel, you have to calm some of that down, or else it's not going to work. But I also have to congratulate Kofi on his 6th sell of Tyson Kidd's finish at the end of this match. It blew me away. He ragdolled that landing really well, And that's probably like the best sell of like basically like a really simple twisting fisherman suplex I've seen in in a long time.
Yeah, Kid knows how to hit that spinning fisherman's suplex / neckbreaker.
I don't know why Kofi Kingston doesn't have a singles career right now. I love him as a singles wrestler. Actually, I love any of the people in the group as single wrestlers, but not as this tag team.
The interesting thing about this match that I took away was Kid and Cesaro are still established heels, even though the crowd loves them, but it wasn't exactly focused on them. It was strangely, it was more focused on the New Day. The crowd had already booed them. Every time they chanted New Day, the crowd said sucks. There was not one person that repeated New Day. They all said sucks. Big E's promo in the beginning was kind of telling them that they should love them and stop booing them. Yet during the match, as Rob pointed out, they weren't exactly wrestling heel. Kofi Kingston, has his comeback where he does the chops, the drop kick, the clothesline, the boom drop. And when he was going for the Trouble in Paradise, he was doing the claps and the crowd was chanting New Day sucks. The one thing that Kofi, this is where you could see them being heels. The look on Kofi's face, he stopped clapping and looked around at the crowd like, are you serious right now? Like, the look on his face was he couldn't believe it. And it was weird because I don't think the crowd connected they obviously didn't connect with the New Day, that's for sure. But it didn't seem like they connected with Kid and Cesaro as baby faces either.
Well, they can't because the Tyson and Cesaro were working heel, Nikolai. They cheated to win the match. So both teams are technically heel here. So what the crowd's going to do, besides chanting New Day sucks because it's a fun chant, is sit on their hands. That's what they're going to do because there's no baby faces.
I understand that, though. It's just the fact that there was nobody playing babyface because you could see that the New Day was trying to embrace the heel, yet they were acting face, but the crowd didn't like them, and they knew it. So it was a very strange dynamic here.
Well, it's bad booking because you can't put an established heel team like Cesaro and Kid in that position then. A bit to where they have to momentarily for one match turn babyface just to have the match work. That's bad booking if that's what you need to pull off a match. You know what I mean? Then don't do the match. Bring out the Matadors or somebody like that. Somebody else to fill this spot because Cesaro and Kid were given a daunting task here.
Well, I will add that they did better on Raw when they had the New Day face the Lucha Dragons because you had Sin Cara and the now popular Kalisto against the New Day, and it was clear. You could clearly tell who the baby faces were. Go ahead, Jordan.
Nick, I was just putting out there is how they have this whole gimmick on positivity, and obviously it's for the children that are watching the WWE product. But if you want positivity for the children, bring back Saturday Morning Slam or something. I don't care, but just don't bring back this gimmick because the real wrestling fans aren't going to appreciate it as much.
Yeah, that's true. But WWE trying to reach every single avenue that they can in one show.
I said, really good match, puzzling booking because both teams are technically heel. And you had one heel team working baby and the other heel working heel. And they were technically the baby faces, and it was just a bullet shoe ugly match as far as booking wise, but actual wrestling quality was actually spot on.
I agree with you right there. The next match we had was Curtis Axel versus the debuting on SmackDown Neville. But before the match, Curtis Axel is still pioneering for. He was still wearing his Axelmania t-shirt, and he's campaigning for Extreme Rules. Are we serious? Are we still going on with this? He's still doing the Hulk Hogan thing, the ripping of the t-shirt and what you're gonna do, and this needs to die. This gimmick needs to stop.
He's perfect at this. I think it's great.
Personality-wise, yeah, but and the crowd isn't even buying anymore. They were on Axelmania's side. They were chanting Axelmania. I acknowledge that, but now maybe it's the piped in boos from the edits, but I don't think anybody cares anymore.
Yeah, well, I don't know what they're going to be doing with Curtis Axel. If this keeps up, we may be seeing Curtis Axel on AngryMarks.com in 4 months. You don't know.
Well, I think they're going to keep him around just because he's great in the ring. He's everybody, like a lot of people request him when they're training. I mean, look at The Rock. He requested Curtis Axel when he was coming back to wrestle. Brock Lesnar had worked with Curtis Axel when he was about to face Triple H. So Curtis Axel is a good guy to have around. And he's also good for when you're bringing in Neville to throw around. And this match...
It's sad, because he was once the Intercontinental Champion. He was once a shining star. Remember when Paul Heyman introduced him and everything?
Mm-hmm.
And then it just all went up in smoke. It's like, poor guy. I feel sorry for him. They didn't use him right.
No, they definitely didn't. But they use him right as a quote-unquote jobber to the stars. And this was really to get Neville over. Adrian Neville, former NXT World Champion, made his debut on SmackDown tonight and just absolutely astonished us all with his moves. Rob, what did you think?
I love Neville. He won me over. Anytime like people like praise a guy, I'm always kind of sitting back on my hands waiting to kind of hate the guy. That's just kind of how I am. I kind of want to see it myself. But, after the Finn Balor match, I was a mark. Sami Zayn match blew me away. I mean, this guy is a legit worker, probably the best worker I've seen, this early in his career. Well, he's been, in the indies for a long time, but probably the best worker probably since Benoit, maybe even Angle. The only other person that is even on his level is probably Seth Rollins, and he won me over with rather recently too with some of his matches as of late. The only thing that I still worried about, and I think Nikolai will back me up on this, is I really hope he avoids the trap that Justin Gabriel fell in. And what I mean by that is doing the Red Arrow and having that be it. I mean, he's trying to work other stuff in, and that's good. That's great, because that's what he needs to do. But he just he needs to maybe win a few matches with maybe a different move, maybe establish a second move, and kind of let later on have that be maybe his setup move for the Red Arrow or something like that, just to kind of do what's not expected of him, to show that he's willing to not just be a one move guy.
Yeah, I can see that. Honestly, I think Neville will have a better career than Justin Gabriel. That's just my opinion at this moment, because Neville came from NXT and that brand grew since the launch of the WWE Network. And he's had, he's a NXT champion. I want to say that speaks for itself, because you mentioned Seth Rollins, who is the very first NXT champion. He's the first guy to actually have held the NXT title and the World Heavyweight Championship. So, I mean, if you want, that title may not launch careers properly. Cause, look at Bo Dallas. He's still not doing anything right now. But,
you're going to believe.
Well, they don't believe in him, apparently. But Neville, I think it's too early in his official WWE career on Raw and SmackDown, but as of wowing the crowd, he's doing that. And he had a damn good match with Seth Rollins on Monday Night Raw, too.
It was okay.
Why WWE misuses talent is because there's so many people on that main roster, and it's hard to give them all that big push. So they always narrow it down to the top guys, and that's why some guys don't get mentioned. And that's the unfortunate thing about it. Hopefully, Neville does not fall in the same trap as he did, as Justin Gabriel did. Because now, Justin Gabriel's coming to Winnipeg in 3 months. And he should have done way more in WWE, and now he's on the Indies again. Hopefully, Neville gets really far in the WWE, and we see him get used well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Justin Gabriel should at least have won the United States title. At least he's had so many title matches for that title, and yet never won it. I mean, he's a former 3-time tag team champion, but that was when he was in Nexus and the Core, and when he broke out on his own, he should have at least won the United States title.
At least he could say that. At least Gabriel could say at least he was around the main event scene with Nexus. At least he could say that when he has interviews, hopefully one day with me and with other people to come.
You know what? The way I always used Justin Gabriel, like in WWE video games, like in fantasy booking and situations and stuff like that, is like as the guy who like reestablishes the cruiserweight belt. Holds on to it for like 6 months and then like drops it to the next guy that I kind of want to give it to him. That was the spot I always used him at. And I mean, with like Finn Balor and Neville and people like that, I mean, I kind of don't get why they didn't reestablish like a light heavyweight or something like that. But like try to steer clear of like doing the cruiserweight thing, like where like it kind of sinks them into that division. And kind of maybe do it more like UFC, like where it's like, it's just a weight division that they could start out at. And that if, they quote unquote gain weight, they could go for the heavyweight title.
I kind of do wish that they did have the cruiserweight title back, because when you look at guys like Kalisto, who's so phenomenal and spectacular to watch, it's like when you push this guy all the way to the top of the career, I mean, Rey Mysterio being the exception, do you really see any of these guys winning the World Heavyweight title in the long run?
Not really. Mostly because Kalisto is just too short. He's like even shorter than Rey Mysterio is. So, I mean, that would be the best use for him. Other than that, then he has to kind of be in a tag team, and that's currently how they're using him. But
that's unfortunate too.
I mean, tag teams have. I mean, I'm not as down on tag teams as other people. I mean, tag teams have their uses, man. Like there's certain people that for whatever reason in the past just couldn't put things together for a singles run, so they kind of were tag team people. I think Justin Gabriel, like in an ideal world, like could have been kept on and put in a tag team with like Cesaro instead of Tyson Kidd, because I think Justin Gabriel, and this might be a little controversial, is a better worker in the long run than Tyson Kidd. I mean, Tyson Kidd's solid, but there's like no flash there. He's just solid. Whereas Justin Gabriel is solid, and he can add a little flash on top of it.
Well, I guess you could say that Justin Gabriel had more personality than Tyson Kidd. And he was more loved by the crowd.
It took him being added to Total's Divas to kind of bring that personality out, though.
Right, which is what I was alluding to, but, I didn't want to go all out there and try and put the Diva show to put Tyson Kidd over. But, that's kind of, where it was leading to. But speaking of Divas, which is perfect segue, they had a match on SmackDown as well. And it was Alicia Fox versus Natalya, and Cameron was the special referee. Apparently this match happened because backstage they had an interview and they all said that they're going to win the Divas Battle Royal on Monday Night Raw and blah, blah, blah. Catfight breaks out. They book a match. Fox versus Natalya. Cameron referee. I was really not that interested in this match because, for one, Alicia Fox has been way more of a heel as of late. She did switch to babyface, but she's one of those characters that could switch back and forth either way. But she was playing heel in this match, and the thing that bothered me was Natalya has finally turned heel-ish, yet she was playing babyface in this match. And it made this match less interesting to me. I think it was obvious the crowd didn't care, maybe because Cameron screaming at them to stop catfighting made them not care either. But I love the whole give Divas a chance movement. It's just that this really didn't do anything for them.
No, it didn't. But like the match wasn't bad. It was not like a catastrophe. And here's the thing about Fox. I like her. Like when she was a heel, like a few years ago, where she was like wearing that goofy like fur like hat like hoodie kind of thing. I thought like she showed a lot of like something. And then she just kind of got buried, on the Divas. Like, like she kind of became like just not featured on Raw for some reason. And I wasn't quite sure why, because I thought she showed a lot of oomph. And I thought like tonight, out of everybody in this ring, like I thought like Cameron like showed like the most like something tonight. And I think that's mostly because she's playing heel now, and it's more suited to her real personality. Because I mean, some of the divas have said that, you know, there are contrived parts to Total Divas, but like there are also real moments to Total Divas, and Cameron's a bitch in real life. So her playing a bitch on TV is a natural fit for her, and she's really good at it. So
is she really a bitch? I've never known that. I thought she was like an angel.
No, she kind of always runs Vinny down on the show, and kind of like really goes out of her way to embarrass him, and just kind of, you know, very about me, kind of a self-centered person. And maybe that doesn't necessarily name her as like a bitch, but like in my view, that makes you not a good person. So I mean, that's just as bad. Yeah, if you're who's the guy she's treating like shit again? Her boyfriend, Vinny. You have to watch the show to know who he is. Yeah, I watched Total. Yeah, that's the thing. Cameron, you are hot. I will admit that. But you don't be a bitch when you can't wrestle your way out of a paper bag. Sorry, woman, but you're hot and all, but you got to learn how to wrestle before you have a big ego. There's so many women on the roster better than you. Calm your ass down, get to the back, and have your match, and shut up. That's my take. Yeah. But like I said, this heel persona I think is a better fit for her because it's closer to her real personality. And you know, they say wrestling personalities are best when it's you just turned up a lot. And I really don't think like she necessarily has to turn herself up a whole lot for this character. So I think it's beneficial for her career. I would love for Cameron with her her real life bitchiness to go up to Leilani K. You know who that is? Leilani, I think it's Leilani K or Leilani K. She's like our legendary women's champion. I don't know if you guys... Liana Kai? Exactly, yes. Liana, I've talked to her before. It's hard to pronounce her name, but I know exactly who she is. How about she walks up to her and gives her that attitude? Liana Kai would kick her ass and set her straight. We need more people in the WWE for the women's division behind the stage, like backstage workers, like Leilani Kai, to straighten these bitches out. Because sometimes they get their attitude problem, and you have no right to have an ego. You have no right to have an ego. You wrestled two good matches out of 32, and you're being an asshole to everyone around you. You don't have the right to be an asshole around you because you haven't earned that, and you shouldn't be an asshole anyways. It just pisses me off how, like, you have to be a bitch and you don't deserve to be one. Well, Natalya and Alicia Fox may consider her that after she gave each of them a DDT after Natty won the match with a sharpshooter, by the way. But yeah, she's establishing herself as a heel and gave them both a DDT. Didn't matter who was heel, who was face. She just did it so she can. And I like that they're actually giving Divas a chance, and they're going to have a Divas Battle Royal to determine the number one contender for the Divas Championship, which we know will probably most likely be Naomi winning it, which I'm all for. No. Charlotte Flair. They I think they dropped the ball with Charlotte. They should have debuted her last week. Oh yeah, I agree. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to cause a scene, but it's like, it frustrates me when you're in the business and you're still green, very green, like Cameron is, and you're showing attitude. Like, that's a big no-no. Well, I look at it as a character, and if you can play it to the fact that if you could play the character to the fact that people are have a reaction, actually boo her, then I'm all for it, as opposed to no reaction. Yeah, then, I mean, that's the problem with the Divas division as a whole, that they have trouble getting reactions. So I'm all for it as well. I was just remarking that, I feel like it's a lot truer to her real personality, and I feel like, as long as it's personality driven because I did hear rumors that she was like trying to get like retrained, I guess, like with Billy Kidman or it's one of those people.
Yeah, down in NXT.
Yeah, down in NXT. So I mean, maybe they're trying to set her up as like a potential heel for like Naomi, so they can finally do like the feud that never happened. I'm just guessing here and give like Naomi the title run that she didn't get because her eye socket was broken.
Yeah, exactly. Now you talk about people and their real life personalities with their wrestling gimmicks turned up. There's no person truer to that statement than The Miz. I mean, this guy is a certified, conceited jerk-off who really thinks that he is an A-list celebrity.
Now, The Miz, though, can have the right to say that. He's not green. He's been in the business for a while. Wrestling is full of assholes. At times, I've been a jerk. At times, everyone's been a jerk in the business. I don't care if Miz is a jerk. So what? He's put on good matches, and he has the right to be at times. Actually, I take that back. No one should ever be a jerk, but at least The Miz can back it up. The Miz isn't the best wrestler, but still, he is kind of a jerk, but there's not much you can do about it. But Cameron, like, who are you to do that yet? You're not even there yet, girl.
Well, I consider Cameron different because it's her personality to be that way, and it's whatever, which is probably the same reason why I don't like The Miz. And I don't like him as a person, I don't like him as a character, and I don't like his gimmick. His matches, he's had some good ones here and there, and I have fully admitted when he has had good matches. Go back and listen to archived episodes of the SmackDown Rundown. I have praised Miz on good matches. I don't like the person, I don't like the character. And the way he's been talking to Damien Mizdow, obviously it's to get us even more heated, but now it's like, even just as the character, talking to him like a dog and, talking to Mizdow like a bitch. And, it's cringing to see this whole storyline. And I'm glad that we're finally past WrestleMania, that Mizdow isn't his bitch anymore, and that he actually has his own personality. He's finally getting cheered, and he's on his own now. And I just don't really care for this. I mean, we had a Miz TV segment here on SmackDown, and he was promoting the Marine 4. Summer Rae was there too. She was promoting it too, and they were disagreeing on who's the star, the co-star, blah, blah, blah. I really did not care. Rob, you said that the worst segment was the opening. This Miz TV segment was the worst of the whole show.
Fair enough. I could kind of get that. But I also know that they have to come up with ways to kind of keep this feud going. I'm still kind of not clear why, because I mean, Miz has beat him, So
I know that's the thing. I'm very glad you brought that up. Sorry to cut you off, but they blew this match off on Raw with Miz versus Mizdow, and you had the Miz pin Mizdow I think he had a roll up and he had a handful of tights. But why do they have this match already? They couldn't save this to Extreme Rules, and yet,
exactly.
I guess Monday Night Raw was the pay-per-view match that was supposed to, that you could consider to happen, and maybe they have a stipulation match at Extreme Rules because, that's the gimmick pay-per-view. But, I'm already over this feud. I was ready for it until WrestleMania, and when it happened there, I'm okay with it. I lived with it. And then they have their match. I'm like, all right, well, they had the match. Now I'm done. There's nothing I need to anticipate anymore.
That seems to be the common feeling about it, is everybody kind of was looking forward to seeing the match, and then they put it out on Raw with like no fanfare, no nothing. And yes, technically the heel cheated to win, so the babyface is going to get the match. But everybody the feeling is that what we're going to get is, instead of pay-per-view matches, we're going to get Raw and SmackDown matches where these guys trade like 100 victories between the two and nobody gets over.
Either way, I'm already spent. Like I said, WWE blew their load with the match on Raw, and now we're most likely going to get a rematch on Extreme Rules. Either way, they did a little bit of fanfare on Raw, like, oh, the match we never expected to see, Miz versus Mizdow. Yeah, we did expect to see it, and it wasn't appealing. That's what this Miz TV segment was about. Miz was running down Mizdow, chastising him. He even mentioned him by Damien Sandow at one point. And,
They're gonna change it. I know that.
He should go back to Sandow, but Mizdow's already been ingrained in everybody's heads that, I don't know, maybe they're afraid to change it back. I don't know. I don't like Mizdow in the name in the first place. I want him to go back to Damien Sandow and be his own person, because he came out using the Miz's music still. Like, why is he still using the Miz's music if he split from him?
I brought that up as well on a previous podcast. I forget which one. And I felt like that I said the same thing. And each week that passes by while they're feuding and they have the same music, it gets weirder.
Yeah. So
remember when
weird.
They won the tag team titles, and this pissed me off. Sorry. The Miz had both titles. The Miz, the egomaniac that he is, has both of the real titles, and the Miz now has to hold toy belts. The man who busts his ass to have a title reign, and then he has to hold plastic belts. He doesn't even get to hold one of the real titles. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that pissed me off.
Was this after the Bray and Rowan match or before?
This was after. I just wanted to get that out the way because it really annoyed me. Yeah, and it had a correlation with what we were talking about with Cameron, with real life and gimmick.
Yeah, it was a good segue. It was a good segue. I was just confused because I was looking at my notes. I was like, and I was like, oh, okay, we probably just kind of breezed by it for a reason here.
Yeah, and it actually it leads to my next segue when it comes to the main star or A-lister and his flunky. Because you had Bray Wyatt with the Wyatt family, and here we have Wyatt versus Rowan, and this was a weird dynamic because Bray Wyatt gave a promo saying that he brought Eric Rowan in, he took him in, found him laying dirty in the mud, he fixed him like you would fix a broken toy, and then when the time was right, he set him free. But now he's back, he's broken, and it's the crowd's fault. So he said he's going to teach Eric Rowan one last little lesson, that evil is inside of us all, there's no escaping it, and then he will finally destroy Eric Rowan. And he ended by saying, now imagine if I could do that to someone I loved, someone that I used to call my brother, just imagine what I could do to you.
Yeah, I can't believe we're back here in this place where Bray's cutting a promo on somebody. Except that this time, there's no real clear person who he's clearly talking about. This time, everybody's just kind of all collectively like, okay, now we know he's talking about somebody, but nobody's really quite sure who he's talking about.
Right. Now he's just saying to you, does he mean you as in someone specific, or you as a broad general audience?
No, he's talking about somebody specific. They're doing the same build that they did for Undertaker. It's just not clear who exactly he's going after because he hasn't really done any super easy hints as of yet, which I guess will probably come as we get closer to Extreme Rules is what I'm guessing. But what I thought was interesting is they at least took the time to explain the history between these two characters. And as we know, as longtime watchers of WWE doesn't always do that so well.
Right.
As far as continuity and reminding people that it actually exists. So I was kind of happy.
Yeah, and I was happier with the match too because Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan had a match in the past a couple of months ago, and there was no fanfare, no explanation, no nothing. And this was all leading up to his ambulance match with Dean Ambrose. And after he beat Eric Rowan the first time, he said the same thing. He said, if I could do that to someone I loved, imagine what I would do to you. Now that line made sense because we knew he was talking about Dean Ambrose. And this time he said it before the match, and we have no idea who he's talking about now. But the match itself Wyatt versus Rowan was good, and I think it was better than the last one that they had.
I agree. Like Rowan kind of showed a little bit, but I mean, at this point, I'm expecting him to kind of go back to NXT any day now. And to be honest, if he really doesn't show a whole lot, something different, something soon, I'm afraid for him come, Black Monday, whenever they do the post-Mania releases.
Yeah, I'm afraid of that too. But Wyatt is, he wasn't on TV. He was on a Raw or SmackDown last week. He had a nagging leg or ankle or knee injury.
Ankle. It's from when he twisted his ankle, warming up for the Mania match against Taker.
Yeah, which is why that match was kind of short. I mean, he had a knee brace on, he had some sort of wrap on his ankle before WrestleMania. Took it off for the match, and then he was kept off of TV after WrestleMania on the Raw, SmackDown, and even Raw early this week. We didn't see him. So it was kind of crazy that we saw him on SmackDown, and he goes against Eric Rowan.
An ankle injury for a guy his size is going to be a little bit of a hard one to shake. I'm not just, calling him fat, but I'm just saying that he's got some extra weight, and he's not as big as he was when he was Harris, but like he's still a pretty big guy. And ankle injuries on big guys are really, really difficult injuries to kind of get over because you're really not going to sit out for a prolonged period of time. And you're going to keep wrestling, and therefore, pretty much every move you take, you're putting your foot down for, every bump, at least you're supposed to. So every time he takes a bump, he'll be pretty much re-aggravating that injury. So, I mean, I'm going to be really kind of, looking at his ring work here next couple of weeks to see if, as time goes here, he gets slower and slower and slower, and maybe he might have to be pulled off TV for, maybe a month or something like that.
Well, who knows? Jordan, you got any thoughts on Bray Wyatt?
I think he had this great match with Undertaker. They're not going to give him that for nothing. I think the future for Bray Wyatt is very bright in the WWE, and I think that's going to show this year.
I'd like to see him win a title this year.
Oh, I agree with that. That'd be awesome.
That'd be great.
I mean, it's crazy that Luke Harper was the first guy from the Wyatt family to win a championship after NXT, and it was the Intercontinental Championship. I mean, Rowan hasn't won anything. Wyatt hasn't won anything. Hell, I thought Harper and Rowan were going to win the tag team titles in the summer last year.
Yeah, and then they prematurely ended the Wyatt family. Puzzling.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm really shocked that Bray Wyatt hasn't won any championship. Not when he was Husky Harris, and not as Bray Wyatt. He hasn't won any.
Do you think it's because he's kind of his whole gimmick is he kind of rejects, his whole character idea is he kind of rejects what everybody else craves for. He's kind of just out for chaos and destruction. That maybe if he had to carry around the belt, it would be a weird image because he wouldn't really care about material possessions.
That's a good point, and it would look weird with the belt. I mean, hell, Harper looked weird with the belt. The way he carried it, he had the big plate on his back, so I mean, even he looked weird with it. But I mean, Wyatt was a part of the Money in the Bank ladder match when it was for the title last year. I mean, that was supposed to be just a standard Money in the Bank match until Bryan had to relinquish the title. I mean, and Wyatt was in that ladder match for the championship. I was there for that pay-per-view, and it was even weird seeing him go for the title. But, I mean, I wouldn't have been opposed to him winning the United States or Intercontinental Championship.
I'm just saying, me thinking out loud as a fan, I'll be curious to hear, him explain why he would care about a material possession when most of his other promos just kind of indicated that he's not all about that. I would guess that he would probably say that it means that he is the new face of fear or something like that. But, I mean, he would have to maybe take some time out to kind of explain the dichotomy of having, something like that in his possession.
Yeah, and he kind of shuns society, so, I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't want to deal with a societal, materialistic item, so, yeah, you might have a point there.
But yeah, I mean, besides this match, I mean, the only other thing of note was the 6-man tag. It was a really good tag. It's just that, you know, we've seen, you know, these guys all kind of interacting with each other numerous times, especially Roman Reigns and Big Show. At this point, I'm over those two ever being in the ring together, even in a tag match, to be honest. And you know, the crowd liked it. It's a star powered, you know, I guess like for SmackDown at least, it's enough star power to kind of get the main event nod. It's just, I don't know where they're going because, I mean, did Sheamus kick Daniel Bryan merely to turn heel? And he's not going after the Intercontinental title because Wade Barrett has claimed that because he asked for like his title rematch, or are we like getting like some kind of 3-way triple threat here, and then Wade Barrett and Sheamus are going to have to feud with each other, or what? Like I'm that's the only thing I'm not clear on, and you know, a 6-man tag match doesn't really clarify that question for me.
Which is why at the top of this podcast I had mentioned that this episode of SmackDown really didn't do much to lead to Extreme Rules. It was just it wasn't necessarily filler. It was there because they were moving along with some storylines, or just moving along with some little tidbits here and there. Which why I see Sheamus not going for the Intercontinental title. And it looked more like we were furthering Sheamus and Dolph Ziggler. Because if you remember, Daniel Bryan said that he, you know, I don't remember, I don't think it was Daniel Bryan, but it was mentioned that Sheamus had attacked Daniel Bryan after the title match, but he did worse to Dolph Ziggler. So we might see Sheamus and Ziggler at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view while Barrett gets his rematch for the title.
Yeah, this is the first SmackDown since I've been doing the recaps or the rundown that we didn't really get like SmackDown to further at least one of the storylines going into a pay-per-view. This is the first time where they didn't like either further a storyline or at least kind of set up a storyline. The only thing that they really did tonight that Raw didn't do is pretty much confirm that New Day are heels. That's about it. That was like the biggest takeaway. And so like newsworthiness of SmackDown is like Nikolai, like kind of like an all-time low for this week. Like, but like ring action and stuff like that, there was a lot of reasons to watch this episode if you're strictly there just for wrestling. But I feel like a lot of wrestling fans need kind of a bit of both, you know, kind of a story and kind of good wrestling on top of it. And if that's what you were looking for, you didn't get it this week.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't storyline driven. It was for the opening segment with the promos and then the main event match. I mean, you can kind of connect the dots on who's feuding with who in the main event with the whole thing. And then you have Miz and Mizdow. You can, obviously that's there. That was obvious. And then the Divas, all they were doing was really promoting the Divas Battle Royal, #1 Contenders Battle Royal for Monday Night Raw next week. So, like I said, it had a little bit to do with storyline movement, but it didn't do much for major stories.
Yeah, like instead of setting up for a pay-per-view, it seemed like most of tonight's SmackDown was to kind of keep you kind of like okay, I have to tune into Raw to see if they're going to be a little bit more clear on where everybody's going.
It's not to take away from the matches. I mean, Neville made his SmackDown debut. The tag team champions were in action, which is always good to see Kid and Cesaro go at it. We saw the New Day, their whole scenario, situation, what's going on there. And then you had the 6-man tag team main event, which was really good. Oh, one thing I do want to note, the crowd was pro Roman Reigns, which was good. Because the way that he's been treated since the Royal Rumble has, in all honesty, in my opinion, has been unfair to him because the crowd wanted Daniel Bryan. And they piss and moan because they didn't get him. The crowd's not always going to win. But the fact that the Dallas crowd was chanting Roman Reigns' name, they were chanting, "We want Roman," in a match that included Ziggler and Bryan was actually refreshing to see.
Yeah, I can kind of get behind that. It's just my only question about any reaction on SmackDown is how much of it is a shoot, and how much of it is sweetened. That's my only thing.
But one thing, I did question that when I was hearing we want Roman and Roman Reigns, but I did notice some fans from the first row all the way to maybe the seventh row, when I heard the chant for Roman Reigns, I actually saw their fans' hands going to that melody, and I saw their mouths move and say his name. So it wasn't loud, but it was there.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, for me personally, I mean, I always try to use Raw crowds to gauge, like, where everybody is as far as, like, reaction-wise, just because it's a lot harder on SmackDown, just because they could kind of play with things a bit here and there.
No, I know exactly what you're saying, but if you go back and watch it before Roman Reigns was tagged in, it was actually at the moment before Big Show knocked Ziggler off the apron, which was almost towards the end of that, so maybe 5 minutes towards the end of the show. Like I said, it was refreshing to see. I mean, Roman Reigns really got the wrong end of that, because the live crowds will always throw you off. So the live crowd will either try to start their own chant and go for who they want, or you have SmackDown with the sweetened crowd and the edited, and you don't know if they're really chanting it. So, it's kind of hard to gauge sometimes.
Yeah.
But regardless, that's all I really feel like pointing out from Thursday night SmackDown. Jordan, do you have anything you want to add before we close out the show?
No, I thought it was a good show. I'm looking forward to the developments in WWE, especially since it's just after WrestleMania. So it's going to be good to see what happens. And, no, I thought it was a good show.
All right. Rob, what about you?
Like I said, I liked the wrestling. Storyline-wise, it was a little iffy. But, I tend to kind of watch wrestling nowadays mostly for, wrestling. And I try to divulge myself as much as I can from like storylines, just because sometimes they could be kind of inconsistent. So I mean, I enjoyed tonight's SmackDown. I mean, it wasn't like the best SmackDown, but it wasn't the worst either.
I'm interested to see what's going to happen next week on Raw. It's going to be the England crowd, and we know how they have been when it comes to the WrestleMania or the shows after it. And, Neville is finally on the main roster, so, hopefully he'll just have a huge hometown reaction from the crowd in the UK. The Divas Battle Royal, I wonder how that's going to go. And, of course,
it's going to be a disaster because a lot of females, just body-wise and stuff like that, their internal organs and stuff like that, they can't take quite as severe bumps as guys can. So they're going to be a lot safer with their eliminations. Therefore, there's going to be a lot of silliness going on.
I sincerely hope not, and I hope that's not the case. Either way, I'm just interested to see what's going to happen on Raw overseas and how they're going to bring us towards Extreme Rules.
I can't wait to tell you I told you so.
Well, like I said, I hope that's not the case, but we shall see. That's going to do it from me. Rob, you have anything to plug before we close out?
You can always check me out on Twitter at Rob the Many. I'm pretty easy to find on Twitter. I tweet every once in a while, especially during sporting events, UFC, football, especially during football season. And I usually live tweet during Raw.
Jordan, plug machine, what you got for us?
Of course, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Jordan J. Garber. Coming soon within the coming weeks, interview that I've done with Rene Dupree on JGW. Of course, check out the SmackDown Rundown, which you are listening to now. And of course, every Thursday, check out Thursday Night AMP with me and Stevie J on AngryMarks.com. Thanks for the support. I really appreciate it, and more to come.
Indeed. And you can follow me at Nikolai, that's Nickolye, on Twitter. And also follow Angry Marks on Twitter. Follow him on Facebook and Check out the YouTube channel, AngryMarks.com, spell it out, no period or anything, AngryMarks, DOTCOM. And of course, AngryMarks.com, for your source for all news, rumors, articles, recaps, podcasts, and everything else in between. AngryMarks.com, your one-stop shop for everything wrestling and mixed martial arts related. Check out all the podcasts that we have up during the week, and that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SmackDown Rundown. Thank you to Rob Demani, to Jordan Garber, and for producer Killer Kev as well. This is Nikolai telling you we will see you next time.